Welcome to her Subconscious Blueprint, your no BS space for subconscious healing and manifestation. I'm your host, Jen Boyt, hypnotherapist, mindset coach, and your new hype girl. Here, we don't just chase our dreams, we become them, we attract them. I always say you don't get what you want, you get who you are. And I'm going to teach you how to become that person. We are going to expand your subconscious and unlock your abundance blueprint together. And I am so excited that you hit play. It was no accident that you're here. The universe has guided you. In this first episode, I am going to talk about how I got here. And by here, I mean this version of me, the one who believes in infinite possibilities, knows the power of the subconscious mind, and is on a mission to help others just like you upgrade their life with more empowered thinking. Now, I'm going to take you on a little journey. It's my journey, because understanding your own journey is actually the first step to transformation. Have you ever felt like you were made for more, but you just couldn't quite figure out what was holding you back, or maybe even how to get there? Well, you're going to feel so seen in this episode. Today, we're kicking things off with a little concept you may have heard of called the hero's journey. But today, we're breaking it down about my journey, Jen's journey, the breakdowns, the breakthroughs, the big shifts that actually changed my life, the kind of strength that was born in the darkest moments, but it is actually the light I carry with me every single day in everything I do. I see now that these things, they didn't happen to me. It was actually happening for me. I absolutely love this quote that I'm going to share with you. The first time I heard it, it really just hit me hard, and it really resonated with me. You may have heard of it. It's from a guy named Steve Jobs, and it goes like this. You can only connect the dots going backwards, never forward. And wow, right? Yes, we cannot see why things are happening until later on. And then the dots connect. They actually start to make sense. You think back and say, oh, that's why that had to happen to me this way, because had that not happened, I wouldn't be the person I am today. Or had that thing not happened, it would not have led me to the success or the exciting thing that did happen. Or maybe it had to happen that way because looking back now, that would have sucked. That wasn't the best path for me. So that's what I mean by connecting the dots, only going backwards, never forward. We don't know what the future holds. We don't know what our path and what our journey is. And that is what is so exciting and also scary. When you surrender and you let go of the control, that is when the miracles start to unfold and the abundance opens. But oftentimes we let fear get in the way. So I wanted to share that quote because it really makes a lot of sense to me, and it really put things in perspective for me. And it's something I go back to often. So hopefully you can relate to that as well. But again, looking back, I see so clearly now, none of this was a punishment. This was actually a choice. This was my soul's blueprint. These are the lessons that I had to learn. These are the exact lessons that I needed to learn to grow and become the person I am today and to get where I am right now. So when I was able to let go of that victim consciousness, it released so much power. So in preparation, I wasn't the victim. I was actually the hero. I was the hero in my own story. And this was preparing me for the life I live today. There's a lot of things I'm going to open up about in this episode. And it's just a little bit of my story. It's not everything. But a lot of this, maybe some of my family hasn't even heard. So for some, this may be eye-opening, maybe even a little shocking. Maybe they might get upset. But this is my story. This is my perspective. And we all have a story. This episode was actually a lot harder to prepare for than I thought, because I'm finally talking about things that I haven't really spoke about, that I've kept to myself. And now I'm finally saying them out loud, and it's actually in a very public way. And also kind of scary because I've buried it for so long and kept it quiet. I think mostly because my experience was minimized, as it wasn't that bad. But I'm done carrying that story that was never safe to share. Because the truth is, I've spent my life looking like I had it all together, while silently, I was just surviving. And the story goes, the hero's journey, like I mentioned before. It's in every movie, every book. There's always the hero. But what nobody told me and what nobody is telling you is you are the hero. You are the hero in your story. And once you realize that no one's coming to save you, because I can tell you they're not, you have no choice but to be the hero for you, not for everyone else. And that is exactly where I got lost. I thought I was supposed to be everyone's hero. But I forgot about my own journey, about my own story, and about being my own hero. And deep down, I was waiting for someone to come be my hero. But I realized the only hero I needed was me. And maybe you can relate to that. I know that so many of you probably can. But if you can relate, I do want you to know and hear this from me. You're not alone, I promise. And if you're anything like me, your journey started way earlier than you even realized. I grew up around chaos, uncertainty, not being safe, a lot of anger, and oftentimes money was used for control. There was struggle with alcoholism in my house and abuse, and home didn't always feel emotionally safe. And I think because it wasn't physical abuse, it kind of felt to me like it was minimized a little bit. But abuse is abuse, whether verbal, emotional, or financial. Just because it didn't leave bruises on the outside, it left gaping holes and wounds on the inside. I grew up fast, like way too fast. Not because I wanted to, but because that was my only option. That was the only option I could see to protect myself and to protect those around me. I had to be the strong one, the protector, the girl who smiled and pretended everything was okay. But it wasn't. I had so much shame, embarrassment, guilt, and fear. Yeah, all of those things. But I was really good at hiding it for a really long time. And from the outside, I looked like I had it all together. I was Little Miss Perfect, was the label that people put on me. And I didn't choose that. I didn't choose to be the perfect one. I didn't choose to be the strong one. I didn't choose that. We'll dive deeper into that specifically in upcoming episodes. But for now, really looking back, I could handle anything, and I did. My mom had me when she was just 16, and she was still a child herself, learning how to survive, trying to be the best mom she could with the tools that she had. Her emotional toolkit was completely broken. Hell, I don't even know if she had one. And if she did, it was limited. She didn't know how to be emotionally available or there for me on an emotional level. She couldn't even do that for herself. And this wasn't because she didn't love me. She did love me deeply, and she still does. I know that. But because she too was deeply wounded. Her own mother disappeared for years without an explanation, and that left deep scars and wounds for her as well. And so being emotionally available was never something she learned to give or receive. I don't even know if she knew what that was, honestly, and why would she? She was just surviving. But she also doesn't realize how strong she is and how strong she was. So my mom and my dad divorced when I was only 2. And me and my mom lived with my grandma and grandpa. When I was like 5 or maybe 6, me and my mom moved in with my stepdad. She got pregnant with my sister, and a few years later, she had my brother. My stepdad struggled with alcoholism. He was verbally abusive and very unpredictable. He used money like a weapon. One minute it was withheld. The next minute it was dangled in front of us like a reward to smooth over his worst moments and to make up from the night before. People brush this off, and I don't know why, if it was because he had money that he would just buy his way out of things, or if it's because they were scared of him. I'm not quite sure. But he was so unpredictable. But I would guess it was a little bit of both. He and I butted heads. We did not get along because I wasn't scared of him like everyone else. He couldn't intimidate me with his power and his unpredictability. And he did not like that. I don't know where this bravery and strength came from. I think God gave me this as a gift because that was the only way we could survive in that environment. But also that strength and that bravery was also weaponized against me at times. My real dad lived out of state for a good part of my life. Our relationship was good. I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't bad. But we didn't see each other much, and we weren't like super close. But we are close today. Probably still to this day, he's unsure of the experiences I had as a child because I didn't really talk about them much. I guess because it was probably embarrassing and I felt shame and scared. And that oftentimes happens is you feel shame about talking about things because in a sense, you kind of feel like things are your fault, especially when you are a young child. Growing up, for the most part, we had money, but it never felt safe. It was always used as transactional. It was manipulative, tied to guilt. I saw early on that money could be used to control, and that shaped much of my subconscious relationship with it, which I do talk about in upcoming episodes. I grew up walking on eggshells and unpredictability every day. I wasn't the baby or the one that got to cry and fall apart. I was the strong one, the protector, the brave one, the one who had to hold it all together for my mom, for my siblings, for the entire house. I couldn't afford to break. I didn't have that available to me. So I got really good at hiding my emotions, hiding my fears, my struggles, my insecurities, my weaknesses, my faults. I was really fucking good at smiling when I was falling apart inside. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel protected. I didn't feel good enough. I had fear and shame and all the low vibrational feelings. I was simply surviving. And for a long time, I thought that surviving meant I was winning at life. People always said, "You're so strong. You're so brave." But what they didn't see was that underneath all of that strength was just a little girl who didn't feel safe, who was scared, who didn't feel seen, who felt shame and embarrassment, who didn't feel worthy unless she was perfect or protecting somebody. But eventually, surviving was exhausting, tiring, no longer sustainable. I remember one day I told my mom, it's me or him. I can't do this anymore. And of course, my mom was just so scared. She had 2 little kids and was, for the most part, a stay-at-home mom. She did work for my stepdad's company. My mom was in a really hard spot. She depended on him financially, and that was scary for her. She also had been beaten down so much that her self-esteem was basically non-existent. She did finally divorce him 4 years later, but I moved out at 17. I married at 21. I had my first child at 24, and I just kept doing what I always have done, surviving, checking the boxes, smiling, pretending, keeping it all in, because keeping it in felt easier. It felt safer. And I also felt like anytime I did try to show vulnerability, it was made clear that there wasn't really space for that, like not with me. This kind of made me think it's really interesting that there's people who express their emotions freely and often. And it seems like others make room for that. They offer comfort and reassurance and let them know it's going to be okay. But for me, I'm someone that rarely cries. So it seems like when you're the type of person that rarely cries or rarely shows emotions, who doesn't often show what's going on inside, the moment you do, people get uncomfortable and they act like, what's wrong with her? Or they get defensive and think that you're putting blame on them when really you just wanted someone to listen. They say things like, stop being a baby or stop being dramatic. You're overreacting. They make comments that leave you feeling like there's no safe place to fall apart. There's no space to just be me. And I recall feeling that quite often with a lot of people around me. I'd often get snide comments like, oh, Jen, she's just so perfect, or Jen never messes up. Sometimes people would say them in a nice voice, but I don't ever think they were meant to be nice. I think they were snarky. That's just my opinion, but those were labels other people gave me, not who I really was. And it's like, do you think I wanted to be that way? No, that was just the only way I knew how to protect myself. It was a coping mechanism. I didn't want to mess up. And that was because I felt so many people relied on me. I didn't want to let them down. But now I'm over that. Fuck perfect. Fuck letting people down. Perfect is boring. Perfect is impossible. And perfect is fucking exhausting. I knew there had to be more. I had to be the one to break the cycle and break the generational patterns. I knew I was meant for more, and I knew deep down it was time for me to rewrite the story I was born into. I, for so long, just didn't know how. But one thing led to another, and I somehow got introduced into rapid transformational therapy. I became a certified hypnotherapist, and that also led to mindset coaching. People often ask me, like, was there something that happened that led you to this moment? And when I really think about it, like, honestly, no. There was not one specific thing that happened that I was like, ding, 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 that's it. That's the moment that changed everything. It just feels like it was so many things over a period of time that led me to where I am. But thinking back, it wasn't until I was really around like 39 or 40 that I realized I wasn't really living my true self. Like, I knew for a long time when I really started being honest with myself and the realization was sinking in, instead of me just shoving it away and tucking them away for another day and sweeping them under the rug. I got tired of tripping over that rug. I had built a life on survival mode. I had been living in autopilot, doing what I thought I was supposed to do, what others thought I should do. I was people-pleasing for sure. I was so disconnected from myself because I had never had a safe space to actually feel, to be me, to break down, to cry, to just feel all the emotions. And when that realization hit, that is when everything changed. It meant doing the work and doing hard things, like looking at relationships in my life and letting some of them go. It meant creating distance from people I never thought I'd have to walk away from. It meant looking at my marriage of 20 plus years and asking the hard questions, questioning if this relationship is for me. It meant choosing me and my needs for the very first time. Not because I was broken and not because I was selfish, but because I was finally ready to heal, to break free and break the cycle, to just finally be me. And that was the beginning of a new chapter, the one where I decided I was no longer going to be the strong one for everyone else. I was going to be strong for me. And this by far has been the hardest chapter. It meant having to be honest with myself, with my husband, and healing is never the easy route. That's why a lot of people don't do it. They live their life without ever healing. But it's the most rewarding. I had to break the cycle. No one was going to do it for me. I had to do it for me, and I had to do it for my kids, and I had to do it for their kids and their kids and their kids. It was time to break the cycle. What message was I sending if I didn't? Because I knew I was meant for more, and I wanted to teach them to go after what fulfills them and what is meant for them. And here is the magical part. What I realized when I really started digging down deep and doing the work, it wasn't that this was the end of my story. It was just the beginning. At 40, I had this big epiphany, and I realized and asked myself, was this even my story that I was living for so many years? Or was I living the story that everyone else was writing for me? The story I was told to live. The story I got stuck in. The stories that they said about me. What they labeled me. What they said to me. What they said about me. The expectations that they put on me. The perfectionism. The perception of what they thought about me. I realized those aren't my stories. That's not me. Those were their stories. Every moment that I had to be strong for me, for anyone else, every time I felt unseen or unheard, every time I protected somebody else before I protected myself, all of those taught me so much. And I am beyond grateful for all of it. I wouldn't change anything because every one of those taught me a lesson and they shaped me. I am so proud of the person I am today, and I would not change a thing. It taught me resilience. It taught me empathy. It taught me that I was born to be the cycle breaker. It taught me how to love myself, and that putting myself first wasn't actually selfish. It was selfless. Even when life felt chaotic, the universe was whispering, "There's more for you. Keep going." But I was in a place for most of my life where I didn't hear the whispers. Or if I did, I wasn't ready for them. The critical mind stepped in even louder, saying, "You can't do that. What are others going to think? What if I fail? What if someone needs you? What if it doesn't work?" Well, I'm here to tell you that you can do it, and you will fail, and you will succeed. Failure is actually just disguised as success. It's all based on the perception and the label you put on it. Society has conditioned us to make us feel like failing is bad. But in reality, if we didn't have failure, we wouldn't have success. How would you know what success feels like if you didn't have failure? I'm sure you've heard of this guy. He's pretty famous. His name's Albert Einstein. You know, he failed 99 times. But in his mind, he didn't look at it as failure. He said, "I found 99 ways that didn't work." And that's what we're doing. We're finding ways that don't work. It's not failure. It's actually success. You are succeeding in finding things that didn't work for you. Like, congratulations on failing. Celebrate that. That isn't all there is. There's something more for you. You are meant for bigger, freer things. And if you're like me, maybe you have ignored the call the first time, the second time, hell, maybe even the 20th time. But that's okay. Maybe you stayed small because it felt safe. It was a way to protect you. Maybe you thought, "Who am I to want more? I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not educated enough. If only I was this, or only I was that." Well, I'm here to tell you to stop, because you are good enough. You have always been good enough, and you will always be good enough. In fact, I want to have you do this exercise right now that I have a lot of my clients do, and I actually do it myself. I want you to go write "I'm enough" on your bathroom mirror, and I want you to look at that every single day. And I want you to know that you are enough, because you are, and we all are enough. We are uniquely us, and that makes us special, and that makes us enough. But those thoughts that you have, that's the call. That's the call when you need to start making the change. It's not random. It's your subconscious blueprint waking you up. And that is what I want this podcast to be about. I am waking you up. The part of you that remembers who the fuck you are. And it's begging you to stop settling. Because breakdowns lead to breakthroughs. We've all had a breakdown at some point, whether small or big, that's subjective. But you know, that leads to a breakthrough. And here's the wildest thing about the hero's journey. Before you rise, you crumble. You know that part in the movie where you think, "Oh my God, is the hero really going to die? They're going to let the hero die." They can't actually let the hero die, but then they come back even better than you imagined. That's you. Every breakdown, the tears, the failure, the heartbreak, it wasn't happening to you. that is a victim consciousness, and we're not tolerating that here. Here, it's happening for you. That is the more empowered consciousness, and that is where you're going to see change happen. This is where you manifest. This is where life becomes easier. When you just start attracting the things that you desire, the love of your life, the relationship you've been looking for, the things in your business you've been looking for. This is where you start just attracting things, and things just start happening without you even asking. The synchronicities are happening. So if you're in the messy middle right now, I want you to hear this from me. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You are being rebuilt. There's times where you might wonder and you're looking around at other people thinking, oh, I want that. Or, oh, that must be nice to live that life. Or that must be nice to be in that relationship. Well, the reason you haven't got it yet is because you're not ready for that. That's why you haven't gotten it. You first have to become that person and be ready for that. And then the universe delivers. Everything we get in divine timing, perfect timing. Whatever you want to call it, God, universe, source, higher power, they know better than we do. So trust and surrender, and good things come to you at the exact time that you need them. Everything that comes to you is in perfect timing. So that's where we're starting on this journey together. Understanding that you are the hero of your own story. And we all have a story, and it's never too late. I'm 46 and I feel like I'm just getting started, and I'm so excited for the next chapter and the next story that I get to write and no one else. This show is here to empower you with mindset, tools, manifestation strategies, and real talk. We're shifting the subconscious mind to a more empowered thinking. Some of the episodes we might dive deeper into specific techniques. Some we might have guests who have walked their own hero's path. But all of them will be full of love and heart and practical wisdom to help you rewire your subconscious blueprint. In upcoming episodes, we'll discuss how to recognize when the universe is inviting you to step into something bigger. So make sure you subscribe. I am so happy that you're here listening to Her Subconscious Blueprint. If something in this episode lit you up, it would mean the absolute world to me if you subscribed or left me a review or shared it on your stories. You can find me on Instagram at Evolved Mind with Jen, and Jen is with 2 N's, Jenn. My Instagram handle is Evolved Mind with Jen. I am so full of love and gratitude to share my story with you. I hope in some small way it inspired you to follow your heart's desire, because there are bigger things for you out there. And remember, you don't get what you want, you get who you are. So go out there and be that person today. That's it for me. Much love. See you next time.